So Black Widow was supposed to come out over the weekend, and as you probably know, it's been bumped to November. But maybe you're still looking for that Black Widow fix. Maybe you don't read her comics, you just want to see her in action on a screen. The thing about Black Widow, of course, is that she isn't like Spider-Man. You have umpteen other movies and shows available to watch of him. You can see Black Widow appear in other hero shows, but her own solo outings, not so much. So I thought we'd take a look at some Black Widow fan films. Sort of. One of them has a huge asterisk, but I'll get to that in a minute. The first fan film is Black Widow Origins. It was directed by Sean Manguso and tells the story of how Natasha Romanoff came to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. Basically, she gets hired to kill a politician, Senator Harding, and in the process gets stopped by another S.H.I.E.L.D. recruit who's been recently promoted, Clint Barton, also known as Hawkeye. I really like this short film. It runs about 18 minutes, and they tried to make it feel like a real Marvel production, right down to a scene in the credits that sets up another adventure. Alison Powell plays the title role. She also wrote and produced the short. And as with any fan film, at first it's a little jarring to see someone else in the role. Same goes for Mark Whitten as Hawkeye. And it's not a slight toward them, it just usually goes with any fan film. At first it takes a moment to accept that's not Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner. They do look a little bit like cosplayers, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But anyway, Powell and Whitten do a solid job with their role. Powell tries to do a Russian accent with mixed results, but that aside, they both do really well. I feel like Powell and Whitten are especially good when they're acting off each other. They definitely have chemistry in their performances. My only real complaint has to do with the action. Maybe it could have been a little more believable, but at the same time, you can't hold it against them too much because the same issues here are the same ones that major action movies often have. There's heavy editing to try to make the choreography more exciting, and you have master assassins shooting at each other, but somehow missing their targets by a mile. But these issues are in big movies all the time. But as unfair as it is, I guess a lot of blockbusters are better at covering it up. They have more resources, stunt doubles, so it's not really too much of a fair comparison. But look, this is a fan film. It's a passion project. Let's focus on the positives. The story is straightforward and solid. Scenes of the Red Room, the Black Widow program are exceptional. So kudos to everyone involved in those scenes, including the director of photography, Sam Rosenthal. Some of those shots are as good as the actual Red Room scenes in the MCU. Overall, Black Widow Origins is worth your time if you like the character. It has the constraints of a fan film, but it's a step above a lot of them. But the next Black Widow short isn't a Black Widow short. Technically. It could be, but it isn't. Let me explain, because this is a little interesting. When I was searching for a Black Widow fan film, Hugo Will's Black Widow was near the top of the results. Note that when it comes to reviewing fan films, I try to find ones that look professional, not ones that are a couple of friends, just goofing around, putting it together really quickly, just for the memories, among their friends. I want you, the viewer, to feel that the short merits your attention. So I started watching this Black Widow short, and it seemed like a short about Natasha Romanoff. Granted, the character calls herself Kira once or twice, I think once, but that didn't mean anything. She uses aliases all the time. In the character, she's Russian, she has red hair, again, like Natasha Romanoff. When we first see her, she's getting dressed up, the music tells us it's for a serious reason. She's definitely not going out for a night of carefree fun. So Kira meets this guy named Kevin, and again, I know this is on me, but I thought maybe it was a reference to Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige. They meet at a bar in a hotel. They have this conversation, it starts flirtatious, and to be honest, it starts to get a little bit boring. But then it leads to this intriguing drinking game where the characters are trying to guess stuff about each other, and during this game you can tell there's something brewing beneath the surface. Something's about to go down. And a couple of minutes later there's a twist, and it ends. And I realized this Black Widow short isn't about the Black Widow, I think. This short came out in 2016 when the MCU was in full swing. So why would the director do a short about a red-haired Russian undercover assassin and title it Black Widow? And I'm not suggesting he was trying to lure people like me who would think it was about the MCU Black Widow. And look, it's only 11 minutes, so by the time you realize it's not her, it's too late, but at least you didn't lose too much time. I don't want to be a pessimist. I've even considered maybe the director was trying to just make his own semi-realistic take on Marvel's Black Widow. Maybe he was doing a loose take on the character that wouldn't get him in copyright trouble. Or maybe there's no connection whatsoever. Or maybe he did want people to think it was about the Black Widow. I don't know. All that aside, just how is the short? It's pretty good, actually. Olga Lazinko, is that how you say her name? Is good as the lead, but Tyler Fleming is a standout. He's charming as Kevin, but in a smarmy, false way as the character requires. And he was a stunt performer on Marvel's The Defenders, so hey, another Marvel connection. Not a lot to the story, but the characters' interaction genuinely starts to feel a little tense at one point. You wonder where it's going. So kudos to the filmmaking team for making a decent short film. Between Black Widow Origins and Hugo Will's Black Widow, it's tough to say which one is better because both are aiming for very different goals. But going back to the original point of this video, to find a Black Widow short to tide you over until November, Black Widow Origins, it should do the trick. Thanks for watching this review. Hope to have more very soon. Please click like and subscribe. See you guys later.